a huge welcome to all of you. This is the first Conversations in the Kitchen 2023. We're in our fourth year. I'm so grateful that you've come back. I see familiar faces and I see new faces. It's really important to me to grow this. And it's just about upliftment, about sharing amazing information and amazing stories. And Sammi is our guest tonight, Sammi Reid. I'm so delighted. What came to me before I started, I was really kind of a little stressed, and I literally sat down at my desk and kind of said, okay, angels, like, come to the party. I need speakers. I need to keep this going. And in my brain filtered your name, Sam. and I thought, oh, I don't know about the chances, and I don't know if she'd be keen, and she's so busy. And as soon as I got hold of Sammi, she said yes, which is so exciting. Those of you who don't know Sammi, she is an incredible Intuit healer and channeler. If those of you don't know what a channeler is or haven't had the amazing experience of going to one, Sammi's going to just share and give us a little bit of a background just to explain, and then launch into our fantastic topic, complex but brilliant topic of love and all its in all its spectrum. So thank you for joining, Sammi.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. And as much as this is a first for the year, it's also a big first for me, is I have always shielded very much away from the spotlight for many different reasons, and I actually deeply down have always feared it. So I also have been pushed, funny enough, been pushed for quite a while to actually do something like this, but I haven't, believe it or not, I haven't got the balls to do it. So thank you for the platform, and thank you for being part of my first, okay? Because as much as I teach and do Zoom, this is a first for me, and it's a big one. And as typical as with my guide Michael, my angel Micheal, is Michael has never let me shield away from like facing life full force. So also to start, we start with one of the most complex, I think, subjects out there, love, and really what it means from an angel's perspective and how we sort of blend it into humans, okay? To just give you a little bit of background with me, I've been doing this since as long as I can remember. I'm 47. I remember having a guide next to me called Michael, and always sort of guiding me, and realizing very young that I had a gift. Also knowing it came definitely from both, and I know both my maternal and paternal grandmothers were definitely what we would call psychic. And gratefully for them is they never shied me away from it. I was never told it was unusual. I was actually very protected with it. So I never grew to fear it. And as I grew older, I learned to accept, and my gran had a lot to do with it. My mom had a lot to do with it. My sister, as I said earlier, she's an amazing animal communicator. She got the gift of talking to animals and tracking animals. So both me and my sister, I think we got the best parts of being gifted. So I have channeled or worked with Michael since I was about 5. I'm grateful to him. He is a great master. He's a great teacher. He's an incredibly strong angel, but he's also very humbling. And Michael is what I love about him, and what I love channeling and working specifically with him in my work, is he takes no, I listen, I swear, I don't, it's me. Working with Michael gives you a very clear, no bullshit kind of story. It doesn't protect me from being human and making mistakes, and I've made lots, and I hope I make many more in my life, and I hope to learn from those mistakes. So even with my angels and my guides, I still get things wrong, I still miss things. But the bond, I think I trust him. I trust him impeccably, and I sort of trust their guidance. So tonight comes with years of human hardship with love, but also really working with the angels. It's one of my most passionate topics that we're going to speak about tonight. Because Michael and I were having a bit of a chuckle a bit earlier. He said to me, Sam, are you sure you're not shooting yourself in the foot tonight? Because you might take away half your flying pace, okay? Because the thing that I get asked the most in my job, okay, is when am I going to meet my soulmate? When am I going to meet my twin flame? Or what is becoming more a flag to the angels than that a bit is, I've been told it's my twin flame. I've been told it's my soulmate, and the relationship is abusive from the start. And because there's these flags around these words, soulmate, twin flame, I think we've really sort of, I think, simplified something that is very complex and very holographic. And tonight, what I want to try bring an understanding of what love, what it looks like, what it should feel like, and then these terms around soulmate, twin flame, what do they really mean, and what do they mean from a human perspective and a soul perspective, because they carry very different energy. Okay, so any questions at this stage? Anybody at this stage that just wants to ask a question that doesn't make sense? Anything about me? Okay, if you need to catch my attention, because I can go into my own world, get hold of Elaine or me, but one of us will pay attention. Just put your hand up and ask, okay? And please, there's nothing like a stupid question or ask, because that's how we grow, okay? The first concept is what we've got to understand as this concept called love and soulmate, twin flame, and I'm going to go straight into it, okay? Your soulmate relationship, it became a big word. It's become quite a sort of a term or a label at the moment, is soulmate, twin flame energy. The angels will come in and say the first soulmate relationship you have is with yourself. You have to come into a mate of your own soul, because you have to make friends and accept your soul, okay? Until you can make peace, and acceptance of where you are in this moment. And I don't know how many people are in this room, but one of the hard questions from Archangel Micheal is, all of us have to maybe for love, okay, life, have to expect that this moment in time might be all we ever have. This might be the best part of you. This might be the moment of your life. All of us sitting here in this room, in our kitchens, and that this might be it. And you've got to make peace with that aspect of it. I'm not saying you have to accept it, and I'm not saying you have to if you're single and you want to be in a partnership, you hate being single, I'm not saying that. But it's about coming into a deep acceptance of your own soul, being your own soulmate, okay? And I think that's where self-love and self-nurturing and learning to be vulnerable comes into conflict, because you cannot have a healthy soulmate adult relationship if you are in a place where your soul is seeking somebody else to come in and rescue it, somebody else to fix what is wrong, okay? And where the narrative starts to go very wrong is, I don't know what the age group is in here, but I know some of my clients are young, but I'm also nearly close to 50, is we were raised with that concept of once upon a time, a princess is stuck away in a tower, and a prince comes to rescue her, and they fight some evil somewhere in the world, and they live happily ever after, okay? Right up until the mid-2000s, the first Disney story, up until, I think it's I don't know when Frozen came out, okay? Frozen was the first fairy tale that we actually have where it wasn't a knight in shining armor coming to rescue the princess in a tower. Shrek I'm going to fairy tales because we base a lot of this on the concept of love on fairy tales, okay? So most of us are brought up with that concept is somebody's going to come and save us. Somebody is going to fix all our problems, and we're going to run off into the sunset and live happily ever after. Okay. I promise you, it doesn't happen like that. And it shouldn't happen like that, because that's not how the concept of love from an energetic, spiritual point of view is supposed to be experienced. So when we have movies, and I give these movies to you, Shrek was the first one that came in and broke the concept of a knight in shining armor. You know, Shrek was this Olga who burped and farted, and that true love's kiss. I think there was all a part of us that wanted her to not turn into the Olga, because Shrek wasn't handsome, he wasn't rich, he wasn't famous, okay? He was a green little man that lived in the forest, but he made her happy. So Shrek and Frozen did actually, believe it or not, start to change the narrative of what we look for in love. But we go back, so the angels will always say to you, until you make peace and accept with who your soul is, okay, and make a friend of it in that moment, you cannot energetically, manifestationally attract your soulmate, okay, attract your other half, okay? And this is where it gets a bit more complex, okay? If I offend anybody or step on anybody's toes, I'm really sorry. It's not meant to be. But your real other half on planet Earth is you. It's a part of our souls. When we incarnated into planet Earth as a 3D human in a physical form, we made choices to come in on the masculine, on the feminine, okay? That is a soul contract choice. And also, again, if there's anybody here that sort of that, I'm not meaning to step on any toes, but we're just using it for the class, okay? So just no offense taken anyway. But the actual soul, the actual you, and Michael, I'm going to pick on you because my guide's called Michael, so your name just comes in quickly, okay? Is the real soulmate, the real other half of you is you, okay? And it's not a physical soul on planet Earth, okay? It's not a physical manifestation of it. I'll explain the differences now between soulmate and twin flame, but what it actually is a deep acceptance of who you are. And how many of you have heard, how many of you with relationships have heard people, yourselves, when you stop looking, when you stop seeking, when you come into that place where I'm really okay on my own, I'm really in my power at the moment, I'm enjoying life. Normally with 6 months to a year, you've met a partner and you've got married, or suddenly you're in a long-term relationship, okay? It happens again and again, and it's like a rewind. It's not because you took some magical potion. It's because you've worked on yourself. You've worked on your ability to be vulnerable and available to yourself. You can't have a healthy adult relationship. And I use the word adult because there's a lot of subcomplexes. You have Peter Pan, you have love avoidance. There's a lot of stuff here, but I'm not a psychologist or that, so we're not going to go too deep into that. What happens is when you make peace with that, your other half, your part of you, your shadow aspect, what you would call your shadow, your energy changes in the world there, and you naturally put out is, I am a whole human being. I have made peace with who I am. You are a one, you're not a half. If you think about the numbers, if you think about the narrative, looking for my other half, okay? Half is half of a human, half of a number. It's not a full unit. So if you are always constantly seeking the other one and the other outside of you, it doesn't equate. You will attract partners that come in that will have soul contracts with you, will have possibly even twin flame contracts with you. But because your soul is not at one, they also move on because their soul's not at one. So that's when you come into your own peace, your own power, is you automatically, it often happens, you normally meet a partnership, normally within about 6 months to a year, okay? Because you found your one and you attract the other one, which becomes two, okay? So any questions here, anything that doesn't make sense, anything I'm losing you with? Okay, and you're all still here and I haven't chased you away, okay?
I'm thinking, Sammi, just just share with us and I'll monitor the questions, okay, and then indicate for you. And I'm sure after, once you've chatted, then people are going to afterwards want to ask questions. So feel free.
Okay, so the big misconception here, okay, is let's just unpack it before we go. So when we use these terms later, we understand it, okay? Your soulmate terminology, as the angels understand it and how it's been explained to me for about 40 years, okay, you come down in soul pods, okay? If anybody here is very reincarnation, or that we don't come down to planet Earth to learn, this could be a difficult concept. But we are on planet Earth and we come down in soul groupings, okay? And I'd like everybody, if you want to really simplify, everybody born in the 1970s would have a soul grouping of the 70s, okay? So when you understand that we reincarnate, we come down in soul groups, okay, to reincarnate, to learn lessons, okay, to grow. Everybody in that soul, I call them soul pods, the angels call them soul pods. It sounds a bit weird thing, but we come down in groupings to learn lessons. That's why families often reincarnate together, because it's lessons always trying to be learned. Everybody in that soul pod is a potential and is a soulmate, okay? This is where you realize how vast and how beautiful love is, because you can soulmate, and it's truth, is you and that soul are sharing a lesson of life. And soulmate energy is a much gentler energy, believe it or not, because soulmates grow together and they learn together. So when you come in a soul group, believe it or not, I always use dogs because I love animals, okay, is anybody that has a dog is actually a potential soulmate grouping to you, because you share an experience of having a dog or a pet. And that's why sometimes on a walk or somewhere, you'll stop and you'll talk to somebody, you'll connect, and there's this huge connection, and it's amazing. And it sometimes can even change your life, okay? How many of us have had experiences in shopping centers or in traffic or on a plane where a soul is connected to us deeply and has shifted our understanding, okay? And they don't always have to stay. This is the big thing, is that if you think how vast your soul pod is and how many people are there to love you in all these different ways, starting to narrow it down and say, I'm looking for a soulmate, you start to take away so much experience, because soulmate experience is somebody sitting next to you on a plane and sharing sometimes the most intimate stories, and the next day you get up and you go and you never see them again, but you'll think of them for the rest of your life. That's a soulmate, okay? But it doesn't mean is that you have to tie yourself to that person, or it doesn't mean that you have to devalue yourself for that connection. And this is what we'll get to a little bit later, the deeper stuff, okay? So a soulmate is honestly somebody who comes from your soul pod and is sharing life experiences with you. And me as a healer and a psychic, I would much rather seek out my own soul, and then I would look for a soulmate, because the complex and very, very, very gray area with a twin flame energy, okay, in that soul pod, there will be what we would know as mirror images, soul images, twin images of your soul contract. Somebody also is learning the exact soul experience, okay? As much as we're unique and as much as an astrologer, we all have certain soul lessons we have to grow through, okay? It's like Pluto in our astrology chart. Pluto is a generational planet. We all have to deal with, like Pluto in Scorpio he's here to change the world, okay? So, or Pluto in Libra, sorry. So what happens here when we get this twin flame energy coming in? And to me, I try to do a bit of research back. It's a new word. It seems to be used very, very flamboyantly. It seems to be used too easily out there, and I think it's causing a lot of harm. I think it's causing a lot of damage. And to me, I see a lot of what I would say cruelty in relationships because of this label twin flame, okay? A twin flame energy is highly complex, and it is a bit difficult even for me, because you've got to see the twin flame energy as a holographic expression of your higher self, okay? And it's the part of you that you are seeking in this planet, but it's a mirror. It's a mirror reflection. It's not standing next to you. This person can never stand next to you because they are supposed to mirror you, okay? So twin flame energy is somebody who has the exact sort of soul lessons they need to learn. So that's why when you meet them, there is normally, and this is the danger with twin flames, okay? And please believe me, they are out there at the moment, people, with the veils being so thin between the worlds, with our injunction of where planet Earth is at the moment. And this year especially, I mean, whatever, we have been given rights here to help clear karma, to clear ancestral patterns, to stay, the line stops here. So there is a lot of people meeting twin flames at the moment, more than normal, because there is a sort of a get out of jail free here for anything karmically that doesn't serve us as we move into this new earth and this new generation and a different way of being. We have to tie out these old contracts because we really have confused them, and we have vowed ourselves to soulmates through marriage, through oh my God, you're my soulmate, I need to be with you forever. Even the marriage vow stand at the moment is a bit scary, because you stand in front of a God and say, to death do us part. And we all know in this room that this is not the ending. This is just a chapter in a big, 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 beautiful play that we're in. So when you vow it in a religious ceremony, whether you're religious or not, ceremony and intention is big and powerful. So when you stand in, as we do today, and say, to death do us part, what starts to happen is you start to, where Earth is at the moment, trying to move into another, move higher, get back to her core values. We have a lot of people coming from our past lives, past lessons, okay? And again, if I step on toes with past lives, apologies. But we have some big contracts out there that we said we're going to fulfill. And suddenly you're standing in front of a twin flame. And the twin flame, when you meet them, you will, what the flags are here is, it's an instant connection. It's boom. Okay, it is boom. They tick. The paper ticks. The feelings tick. The history ticks. It is literally boom. And I always say to people is, think about twins. Okay, it's exactly the same as twins. Is they are in the same womb. They grow up together. Their moms, parents normally dress twins the same, and then around about 18, they sort of separate. They go different places. But twins will say they're always in each other. So what happens with a twin flame, where the soulmate is more of a merging and a much slower journey and can be intense, the twin flame energy sort of bowls us over. And this is normally the relationships you see that I've met somebody within 6 weeks, they're getting married, or 6 months, they want to get married kind of thing. It's very intense, very quick, very powerful. And the crazy thing is, under spiritual law, twin flames are not meant to stay together, because they come in, they twin, they learn, and they pass through each other. But it's exactly that. They pass through each other. And when they leave, very few, and I've been doing this full time for about 17 years, very few twin flames can actually hold it, because they have to be so strong in their own individual power to not bully the other one and create a narcissistic imbalance in power. So twin flames, if you are lucky and unlucky enough, because I really do think it's one of those duality relationships. If you are lucky enough to have a twin flame energy or experience it, and if you say to me, have you will know, because it is an intense relationship and it goes deep. And no matter how much healing and Reiki and all that, it is something that is inside you like a twin. But those are normally relationships that are coming in to wake us up, to show us our greatness, because we normally meet twin flames. We normally attach so much to them. We see their brightness, their greatness, is they normally here to wake us up a bit, or to show us it's time to move and to become our own comet. And a lot of twin energy doesn't stay. It can get very narcissistic. It can get very cruel. And this is what worries Michael hugely at the moment, is this concept. If you meet your twin flame, no matter how vulnerable you feel, or how many red flags are up, or what is being done in the name of this twin flame energy, and I hate to say it, females more than the masculine, and no disrespect to any females here, but the female seems to carry that huge sort of brain conditioning of the knight in shining armor is going to rescue me. Somebody's told me it's a twin flame. I feel it, because I'm not for once will I ever deny somebody when they say, I think I met my twin flame. You know it, okay? And you also know when you lose it, because when you lose it, you literally fall in a hump, okay, or in a heap. But what we're picking up is, there are big contracts being done, but just because they're twin flame doesn't mean that you need to suppress that vulnerability and the growth of your own soul, and self-loving, and saying, is this relationship good for me, no matter what label it has? Because you can have the most intense twin flame energy with somebody at the pick and pay, and we've got to start reflossing. Is this romantic love that we seek, it's not there. Love is very painful. Love is beautiful and conceptual, and it's constant work. Carl Gebram talks about pain is love. Pain is suffering, and being in love and sort of opening up and being vulnerable is a huge suffering. But until you actually you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable and move away from those terms, and understand that everybody even in this group tonight would have a soulmate connection. It wouldn't mean that we would give anybody in this group keys to our heart within the first 20 minutes. But what happens with these terms, and especially the twin flame relationship, it gets in very quickly, because we see our mirror, we see our match. So where there is, our vulnerability just falls away, and all the red flags sort of diminish, and we sort of get very vulnerable very quickly. And because we don't trust those flags, because it's this twin flame energy, it's supposed to be happily ever after, we end ourselves sometimes in very disempowering relationships, and that worries the angels, because it takes away what universal love is. Universal love is you shouldn't want to change somebody. And somebody shouldn't want to change you, not in any soulmate contract or even twin flame contract. They should accept who they see, and is this person going to make space for me? And often, especially, I come down hard on the twin flame, and I apologize if anybody's got it right. Awesome, I really mean it, awesome. But I come down quite hard because it's quite bad at the moment, is the disempowerment on both sides of this term twin flame. Twin flame is you have a twin, you have a soul connection to learn. Okay, can I keep on going?
So I think you might have answered it for her. Romy asked in the chat, she asked, so is this something to avoid? I think, did I read it? Romy, are you in the house? Let's see. Romy, where are you? Yes. Okay, so do you want to, that was the question, right? Is this something to avoid?
Rose, no, I think we must never stop believing in magic, and there are twin flames out there. I think what we've got to do is we've got to stop simplifying love. We've got to stop looking for the other to save us. We've got to stop looking outside. So when you meet your twin flame, is normally what it is here. Sorry, I've got a big cough. Is what happens here, what Michael gets what the angels are in defense of at the moment is that twin flame energy seems to take down our guard. We seem to, I'm going to quickly cough.
I think, sometimes I know with Sammi, sometimes when you have something in your throat,
it's a big one.
It's a reflection. Like sometimes that's where we hesitant. I'm just speaking from our own experience. I know the other day, Sammi did a reading with me, and when there was information that came through that I personally, difficult for me, Sammy's throat kind of, you had a cough in it as well. So it's always so interesting. They give information that comes through.
Yeah. So Rose, what it is for everybody here is it's the intuition. It's the red flags that are seeming to be suppressed by conscious human beings, because this term is misunderstood. A twin flame energy is exactly like two twins. They have a shared soul contract. They will have an intense relationship, but it's not something that is meant to be forever. So no, if you find your twin flame, go for it, but go for it in a don't allow what the flags, your value system to collapse because it's a twin flame. Your value system has to stay in place right from the beginning. If you want a healthy relationship with a partner, you have to not deny the flags that come up, because flags mean you're vulnerable. Flags are saying something is off. Okay, remember, it gets difficult. We all have wounding from childhood. We all have karmic ancestry patterns. We all have, remember, Earth is a planet of suffering. It's a planet of pain. I don't think any human being doesn't have a story here of some sort of pain or suffering. So what happens is, Michael always says to me, choose what you're going to suffer for. Is relationships are hard. Having a solid, healthy adult relationship, I think, is the hardest thing in the world. Okay, it's something that I still achieve and try to work with and work hard on myself. This is why I've been able to do the shift, and we'll look at it from both sides, because it is something to be honored and valued. But it doesn't happen like, oh, they fight some magic, they live happily ever after. So many couples, so many people diminish themselves so much for a relationship because of the sense of, especially with a twin flame, and to a lesser extent a soulmate, there is a connection. There is real connection. And this is what the confusing thing is. And people would tell me, I said once to my mother, but I love him. Okay. I remember my mother rolling her eyes. Okay. And now I understand her, because I roll my eyes when I hear that in a reading. Okay. So does Michael, because love, I wish, was enough. I wish love. I wish even the soulmate label, I wish that the twin flame label was enough to keep that person with us. It's not. Love is very hard, and you want to see that right from the beginning. So Rose, what often happens when we have somebody coming in, when there's this deep connection, soulmate twin flame connection, it's the suppression of our little voice, our intuition, our flag saying something is triggering. And what I always say to people in like readings, if you're driving down your car, down a highway, and your dashboard lights up, we all pull over immediately, or where it's safe to do. Now, your intuition, your flags should be really flagging here with twin flames and soulmate hugely, because it is a mirror. It is the sort of, let me look. And that's what Michael says is, don't diminish that, because it's a dashboard lighting up saying something is wrong. It is your wounding. It is the ego. It is, we're not going to put psychology to it. Okay. I'm not saying the wounding's not right, but what it is we diminish it and we lose power over it because we think it's, oh, but he ticks the boxes. They're great. Okay. But where you really look at it is, and you look at it back, is my value system being matched? And no. And so what happens is you start compromising, you start molding yourself for this relationship. And normally what happens, if you are, if this happens, often relationships won't get much past the 8-month mark, because there is nothing concrete, because normally there is a manipulation, because there's this instant connection. So I think what I see on my side of the desk is, when people hear that term, they almost take it as a guarantee that this person's going to be in my life forever. And no matter how they're treating me now, I've got to love them because they're my soulmate or my twin flame, even if they put me in hospital. And that's quite extreme. But even if they're abusive or they don't listen to me, it's because it must be love. Okay. And that's not love. Love is actually turning around and saying, am I being valued? And is this person, is this relationship creating space for me? Because to the angels, a healthy relationship is somebody who says, I'm going to create space for you in my life, not time, space. And space means is I'm going to really open up a vulnerability next to me and sort of walk together, take the next step together, instead of this across the table sort of tit for tat and never getting anywhere. Okay, so Rose, does that answer your question? Sorry, I don't know if I do like the sound of my own voice. So just cut me short if I wobble.
I love that answer, Romy. In the house, feel free to really unmute yourselves. There's nothing formal about this. Yes, you did. Romy did. Okay, great. I love what you just said. I love that, like that it creates space for me. Does this relate? I love that question that we asked us, that we should ask ourselves.
I think if we reframe, and I think the age group, I know, I think the generation, I really think the age group from about the mid 60s to now, I really think it's tough. I really think that age group, and no disrespect to younger people, I really think that age group is, we grew up with a very romantic love that a knight in shining armor was going to save us. And Elaine, that's also putting incredible pressure on the masculine. Both the feminine and the masculinity is so out at the moment. Is we have put so much pressure on the masculine at the moment to be this knight in shining armor, but also to be the breadwinner. And there is no knight. I've always said my knight must be on a tortoise somewhere and must have no map. Okay, because I don't know where he's got himself lost. Okay. So when you realize that there is no one coming to save you, there is no one who's going to be that perfect person all the time, and often it's not love. It's honestly, love is the last thing that keeps a healthy relationship together. I wish it was. I really do. What keeps a healthy relationship together is we are taking steps together. It is, you can, I hope all of you marry you should marry soulmates, okay? But just because they're soulmates doesn't mean is, if going into it, what I'm hoping I try to get through is going into it, if your flags, if your dashboard's lighting up, if your value system is not being met, really very, very soon in the relationship, you've really got to look at it. And Michael would say, it doesn't matter what terminology you use or what feeling you've got, it's a value system. And if your value system is being compromised because of a relationship in anything, that then Michael says turns to bullying and narcissism, and then it becomes a power struggle. And what really worries us is the loss of power. And the minute you start losing power in relationship, especially with these deeper connections, you can honestly gaslight yourself into really, really, really abusive relationships. Okay, and the flip side here, peeps, on this is the crappy thing is, You cannot have a healthy relationship without allowing yourself to be vulnerable, okay? Without turning around and saying to your partner, I can't pay the bills, or I've crashed your car, or I don't like your kids, or whatever. You know, vulnerability, people often think vulnerability is, and intimacy is sex, okay? That's also a very easy one, you know. Sex is very natural. So intimacy and vulnerability is really what you're looking for here in a relationship. And I honestly think these days you should be able to see it in the first couple of meetings. You know, if you know, and you've made that connection with your soul, and you know your value system, and you know what you are prepared to struggle for, because any relationship is going to be painful. It's going to have its up and downs. It's going to have days. If I meet a couple and they say they never fight and they don't like, and they don't want to get divorced at least once a year, I'm like, okay, no, there's got to be a bit more passion. Okay, passion is vital, and fighting is vital, but it's resolution that's also more vital. If you can fight all day every day, how do we sort this out? And that's why you want to take a partner with you, so that they've done their work with their own soul, so they take steps with you. And that's that space. And then what happens is you create, believe it or not, a workspace. And a marriage is actually, if you look at it, it's a contract between two people to say we will partner in life for as long as we can. It's a partnership, okay? Marriage was never meant to be forever. Marriage was meant to be, as Michael always says, seasons, okay? We don't question the seasons of life or day and night, okay? Partnership was for different seasons of our life. So when we approach it like that and realize that we've maybe met somebody for the season, whether they're a soulmate or twin flame, we don't romanticize it and try 3D it and put it into a fairy tale of this is going to be happily ever after. This is happily for now. And as long as that now lasts, and as long as the two of us are creating space for each other, because that space means I see you. And as long as you see your partner, it doesn't matter what label they got, they're with you. And they will also create space in their life for you to support you as you both figure this out. So it's taking steps together and not sort of turning around and saying, oh, but he's my soulmate, or because it seems that label seems to give people power. Okay.
I think that's beautiful. Thank you. I love that. I just need to, also just.
So listen, if there's anything, what Michael wants, one of the great teachings, okay, about the subject, about love, okay, is Michael, I think you all know about animals and me, is Michael said to me, Sam, you know, I've had my dogs for ages, and no matter how many walks they've been, okay, you say the word that, I can't say too much else, we're going to have chaos because the dragons are sleeping under my feet, okay, and we do not want them to wake up, is think about animals. It doesn't matter how many times you pick up that leash, how many times you say that word, they live in that moment. Is that the best thing that they've ever done? Okay, and we love them, and we love them completely, even though we laugh at them, we laugh at their humor, and we love animals so unconditionally, but we know that they are never going to outlive us. Animals last for a certain, you know, if you're lucky, maybe 20 years with a dog, okay, but Michael's always said to me, Sam, why can't humans love humans like they love their dogs or their pets? You go into it knowing that you are going to outlive them, okay? You know that their time is, but you enjoy every moment, and you laugh with them, and you take it for them. And when it's over, you grieve with them, and you let it end naturally. Michael says if we could just reconceptualize that with humans and love what's in front of us in that moment, whether it is a walk on the beach or a 15-year beautiful relationship in that moment, because that's all we have. And that's the true concept of soulmate relationship, is our souls we are connected and we're friends, but we are actually creating together, and that's life, okay? And I love that sort of thing with the dogs, is when we learn, like Michael said earlier, that love is like seasons, partnerships are seasons. And if you look at yourselves at 20, 30, 40, 50, the partner you're with now is probably a much better partner than you maybe were with your 20s or that, because you've also evolved. So when we see love also as a season, and as that there will be times for solace and times for partnership and building, we can then meet that partnership, and not in this romantic, oh my God, this person's going to save us, because the pressure you put on that person, the masculine at the moment or the feminine, okay, it's impossible. So what happens is when they can't carry that load and those projections, it falls apart. And if it doesn't fall apart in the first 8 months, it will fall apart in the first 4 years. And normally if that flag's been suppressed, Normally around 4 years, you have these children, and that's when cycles and ancestry cycles come on. So really try, if you can, to help you with this. This is what I said, is love and is not romantic, okay? It's anything but romantic. It's really not romantic. That is really for the fairy tales. And go and watch fairy tales. They're brilliant, but that's all they are, 90 minutes of escapism, okay? Love, real love and adult love and healthy love is constantly turning away and sort of keeping that balance of keeping that space for the person. And sometimes you give and sometimes you take, okay? And if you think of it like you would love an animal, is love unconditionally in that moment. And when it's over, be grateful for their story, for the life, for whatever that relationship gave you, and realize that the next chapter is going to be different. It might be a single chapter. It might be a single chapter for the rest of your life. You might need to make peace is I'm going to be alone. It's not saying it's okay. It's saying I need to make a stand. This is where I'm at now in this moment. And then what happens is you give the universe this beautiful new piece of pen and paper to write a new love story. And the love story doesn't have to be a romantic one. It could be a friendship. It could be a new animal. It could be a new home. It could be a new job. Love, we've so boxed it into this romance thing. And love really is. It is, if you stop and realize how much love is around you in a day, you'll see miracles. And I truly believe that the world will change. Sorry, I'm being bitten by my thug cat. Okay, he lives his own life, him and Hannah.
Gorgeous. Is there anybody that wants to ask any questions at the moment? And now I'm just loving this this wisdom coming through, and it's such a beautiful description of and way of re-looking at and defining.
Elaine, I've got a question. Or
yes,
just
yes, please.
So the saying "love conquers all," right?
Yes.
I'm fortunate enough to be in a long-term marriage, and I've got examples of my parents being married for over 50 years or whatever, and also grew up wanting to have this romantic, love-filled, where love fuels everything. But I'm also like, it's not lost on me that you need to work really, really hard if you love someone. So love is the feeling, but it's not on its own. You've got to really work. But what I often see in my work and stuff like that is that it doesn't always start with love. It starts with that connection and friendship and trust. What is Michael and what do you think, Sam, about love being developed? So in other words, I'm just throwing it out there that it doesn't, you hear of a lot of relationships that have lasted a long time, but they never loved each other in the beginning. And they always say, we weren't in love in the beginning, but we fell in love, I'm just throwing out there what the angels think, and what it's all about is that love can be developed through other things like trust,
Okay. So and it's a good question, is Michael, if you had to turn it on its head, and Michael, if you had to do the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, often what Michael will do in a reading, he'll often say to somebody, give us your value system, or tell us what your value system is. Often, and we give a pyramid scheme, like a pyramid. Often the person will put love in there at the bottom, and Michael will honestly throw it out. He's like, no, love actually comes much later, okay?
Sure.
True love. True love is intimacy. It's about being vulnerable. It's about saying, I crashed your car, or I messed up, okay? So I do believe that that's why, and I do believe that that's where the fairy tale sort of messed us up, is Michael would actually back you quite a bit. He says that true love, okay, is built on respect, kindness, trust, truth. Love. He would even put sex a little bit, sex is also a very important thing in love, but sex and love are very interrelatable because they do go together. But those things come much later, and it should, and that's why where the older we get, believe it or not, is where we should have the more fulfilling relationships, because over time we naturally make friends with ourselves. So we accept ourselves because we just start to realize, it's not worth fighting certain things where they just are what they are. So Saul, I would say to you, it's a very big possibility, and that's why I'm a big fan. I love the idea of love, okay? And one of the great movies to watch on this, okay, is the movie Love Actually. I don't know if you all love that movie, but it's a cult movie, okay? And do you know there's 21 love stories in that movie? I think 21 or 14, it's 14, 20. Sorry, it could be 14, it's Valentine's Day. If you look at it and you look at it from a therapist point of view, love actually has about 14 love stories in it. The love between the father and his son, the little girl, and I'm going to cough again. Sorry, Soul. So it's a beautiful movie to love, to watch, because what Michael says in that is all its different forms of love. And Michael would reckon that the healthier the relationship is, the more that love comes later. You have to have the chemistry and the connection, and all of that has to happen. But that generally starts to fizzle away in around 8 months, okay? Yeah. So I agree with you. And that's why I think if we can move away from romantic love, that it's got to be all fairy tales and rose petals, and sort of build it on trust, friendship, mutual respect. Yeah. You know, Michael often says to people when they say, but how am I going to meet somebody? He often says, think about what you value. Like if you're a hiker, go join a hiking club, because those people on the mountain at 7 o'clock in the morning are going to already match your value systems a bit. Sure. So he says, take half the plane up. But yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's why you find a lot of our parents' generation, or even the generation before that, there was a lot of, it wasn't big romantic love. It was more practical.
And they're not, I look at my parents in their 70s. Yes, they hold hands and stuff, but my dad makes a point of, he doesn't need to buy my mother flowers at 50 years or 40 years of marriage. I think love is not always sexy, but respect is, and trust, that's what makes it sexy.
Yeah, and you know what? I think what the biggest thing is here, what we got to get through, is intimacy. Intimacy is not sex. Intimacy is that exactly, is that we are so intimate to each other after 40 years. I don't need to buy her flowers because she knows how I feel. Or she knows that she has space next to me. It's the greatest thing in a partnership, and a friend actually create space, and that he has created space for her.
Yeah.
And one of going here a little bit, I'm going off now. Elaine, if I do divulge, just bring me back. So you got a very good question there. Another thing is this is the kind of thing, is because sometimes with these terms and twin flames and sort of manipulation around it, there's a lot of people are jumping those solid bases, that value system, kindness, love, trust, or kindness, respect, gentleness, honesty, integrity. So they're going straight in, because with these big connections, there is a lot of chemistry. There is a boom, okay, it's nuclear. So that's often why they don't very rarely will the relationship last. That's what they call it, the 7-year itch, okay? It really starts to happen in about the 4th year of marriage, or the 4th year of relationship, because if anybody's builders or constructors here, if you don't build a solid base, if you build up here, the minute pressure comes, the minute, I'm not going to use terms, but the minute a storm hits, that whole base comes down. And so, yeah, I would much rather, and I think this is, don't look for romantic love, look for love that is kind. There's that saying, kind, patient, passionate. That's what you should. And if it develops later, that's even better.
Sam, can I ask something?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, just my last point is, and that goes back to your soul, your own soul. And I believe, well, just in my experience, when I met my wife, I'd had a few relationships, and they ended the same way. It was a pattern. And I spent some time alone, and I guess she did too. And when we came together, it was we were soulmates, but we also had worked on our own souls. And I think when you work on your own souls, you're much clearer on your own needs. So you need trust, loyalty, openness, honesty. I see it with the youngsters that I work with. They do go all in, and they don't know exactly. It's a vortex of love. Like love can be defined.
Totally.
So yeah, thank you for answering that. It's amazing. This has been amazing. Love it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Saul. There was someone in the house that was going to ask a question.
Yes, Lee.
Hi, hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Sam. And yourself?
I'm good. And your doggy?
Oh, my soulmate.
He actually adopted a doggy from us, so
yeah.
She's family.
She's not just a doggy. She is.
Exactly.
Okay, go for it.
I want to ask you about age gap. If there's
Yes.
a big age gap between two people that feel that they connect, is this a possibility?
Yeah, so Lee, that would be a very classic either soulmate twin flame energy. Okay, there's two answers to you in astrology. Okay, there is a very strong sort of it's not 100%. Okay, and please, I don't want to ask here for this, but if you have Leo on your descendant, so Leo ruling your 7th house, there is often an age difference. So often if there is a big age difference, I will look towards astrology quickly if you have your birth time or their birth time, because Leo and the descendant can often be an age difference, and the angels would consider an age difference 7 years plus. Okay, so Lee, if it's in your astrology, it's probably there, and it would we could navigate to see where your sun's sitting, because Leo, remember, is the sign of your sun, so all of that. This would very much be a twin flame or soulmate connection, something coming back in from past lives. And Lee, that's a very good question, because it's a very dangerous situation, because sometimes it can also, again, be very disempowering, or power can be abused because there is an age gap. Okay. Michael worries on the age gap of about 15 years. Michael reckons that as a human, anything over 15 years, it's a generational thing, and one of you will lose a partner very early in life, which is not necessarily the easiest thing. But if you're meeting somebody and there is a big age difference and there is that connection, what I say to everybody in this group, please don't deny those connections, but reframe it. Take the romantic love out of it. Take even sometimes the sexual love, and see this person and say that they're coming in. What are they coming in to teach me? Because every soulmate, and especially your twin flames, big life lessons. You know, I really do believe it wasn't I had a twin flame relationship, and he was killed very, very early on in our relationship. But up until then, I wasn't doing readings. He was the one who turned around and said to me, he was a good Catholic boy, and he said to me, you've got a gift, you need to use it. Up until then, I was building it, but I hadn't made that big shift. So twin flame energies, and when he died, I nearly died with him. But it really, and that was when my big journey went on this. And, you know, Lee, if I look, he was quite much older than me, and he also lived in another country. I mean, what was I thinking? Okay. And there, people, I'll give you a good example, is I knew the angels had told me this is twin flame energy. Never mind that he lived in Brazil. Never mind that he could obviously, you know, I live in Cape Town. Catholic boy. They would have probably called me and made me a Catholic. Okay, no disrespect, but I just can't be that. Okay, but even I denied the flags 16 years ago, kind of thing, or 10 years ago, 13 years ago. It's my twin flame. Of course I must go. Of course I must pack my house up and move to Brazil. Okay, now looking at it, I'm like, what was I thinking? So even I suppressed those flags. My life is not in Brazil. My life is not there. It's here. So Lee, what I would say to you with this experience, twin flame energy on any level is a great gift. Okay, it's a soulmate level. Love is a great gift. Okay, but love can honestly be sitting in your garden and just smiling, and just taking a moment. Look at these relationships, especially at this junction time, are massive opportunities to clear karma. But try to take it off is, I see you, I see your connection, I know we have a connection, but I'm not going to try to box it. I'm going to love you, but I'm going to, I'm not going to abuse that. I'm not going to abuse that line.
Yeah, because we're talking about a 30-year gap here, and lo and behold, Sam, you won't believe it, but he's a Leo.
Yeah, Lee, would look at your astrology chart and that. It's I really do. Yeah. So let's dig into it. There is an astrology theory there that if there's strong Leo leadership somewhere, there can be an age difference. Okay, so then I would sit with your astrology chart, but that would be, to me, that is perfect. That is a big twin flame energy coming back in, and I'm sure you are. And remember, twin flame energies can be very painful because they often can't be together. It's often an age gap, or somebody lives overseas, or a different culture. It can even be this, you meet a twin flame energy and it's the same sex, and suddenly you're having to look and thinking, am I gay, straight, all of that, and suddenly, but it's my twin flame energy, but I'm not gay. So this is what you've got to look at. Knowing now what I know then, knowing now what I whatever. Okay, I would look at this and see it as an amazing opportunity to grow and to see, and why have they come into your life and what are they trying to show you? And normally my experience in twin flames, they're coming to show us to live.
Thank you very much, Sam. That is the most beautiful explanation of that. I really appreciate it.
Sorry, may I ask
Sorry, if you get stuck, we're here.
Sam, may I ask a question? Why 15? What makes 15 special? Because I've got an age gap with someone that's 20. So if it were 15, it would be okay, but 20 is not. Why?
It's a challenge. It's a bit more of a challenge because it's an age thing, and it's not so much now. Okay, it's a bit later. So who's the elder partner?
Me.
Okay,
Me.
so it's normally, I would love to look at your astrology to see if you've got Leo on the descendant, okay, because I can at least cover my ass on that one. But what I would say here, Angel, it's normally, if it's the masculines, if the masculine is much older, it often comes in from a bit of an old karmic cycle also because it's the loss that you might experience later. 20, you would look at it, and just by sensing your aura, I think it's a very solid relationship, okay? And and also remember, Tanya, not every benchmark at 15, but it does get more challenging 15 plus, because there can be a generation gap. As long as your partner, again, creates space in that, and you know that there's going to be an issue, and you work in it, and you respect it, and you give it space, and you don't just think love's going to save the two of you, you'll be fine. Okay.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Any other questions?
Anyone in the house? I'm going to just quickly look around the room, see if anybody wants to ask. Everyone happy just listening?
Okay, so the big theory here, okay, there's a beautiful poem that you can all read. It's a poem that sort of reshifted my life, okay. It's called If I Had 3 Lifetimes. Poetry Nook has it. It's called If You Have 3 Lifetimes, if I had 3 lifetimes, I would marry you in 2. And what I loved about this poem is it finally was something that enabled me to reframe my own sense of partnership. And I think going back to you is partnership. And a lot of us, also going back to generation, a lot of our parents were either very dysfunctional, especially if you're in the age gap from about 40 to 60. We either have very dysfunctional parents that went feral with Woodstock, or you have the very traditional hold it together, okay? So our generation is really, really a little bit researching for that outside and can't see it with inside. And we've been brought up with that notion of the white picket fence. And I remember my sister, I know she's shy, but my sister will tell you, is people used to read us wrong as kids. My sister has always been a bit of a tomboy and was always into, believe it or not, she was the rebel and I was the nerd. And people would always give me dolls for like dolls for Christmas and my birthday. And they would give you like train sets and cars and things like that. And the next day we used to barter, and I used to sell my children to her. I used to actually give her my dolls, and because she was a brilliant mother at that stage. Okay, well, we're not at that stage, she is still a brilliant mom, but she really had that nurturing there. So with sort of Michael Yaks sort of talks a lot, is going back to when we Michael's got me here, and I think Michael keeps on telling me that something about water. So I don't know if there's a pool pump or a pool. I'm just even thinking it's me. No, so just watch water. If anybody's got pool runnings or water problems, Michael just says somebody needs to watch a tap. Okay, sorry.
Sam, I don't know if it's me, but I've just put in like a irrigation tank and stuff like last week, and my wife we just got load shedding, and I was supposed to switch it off before she came to me about 5 to 8, and she said to me, "Don't we have to switch this off because it's?" So I don't know. It could be me. No,
sorry guys, sorry. When that happens, Michael literally, I really do, and I try not to, because I literally lose my train of thought. Michael's warning somebody here about a water issue or something about water pumps, pool, water mess, something.
Yeah, so
okay, so just at least you got the message, okay? At least that one, because that kind of.
Sam, yeah? I'm having water issues. My whole plumbing, when I turn my taps on, I'm going doop, 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 doop.
Right. Okay. So there's when sometimes it just is. So please, with the two of you, please watch water. And anybody else in this group, I always say, because when we've got a bit of a group soulmate thing going on here, is watch water in the next while. I've just thought that I switch off my own water.
Sam, can I ask you a question quickly? Because it's quite
Yeah.
intriguing. How do you switch off to this? Because you could be like doing something very material or very important. Does it come to you like all the time? Does it, I mean, and how do you like filter it, or don't you, or do you just let it take over?
So now at 47, it was very, I hate to say it, I don't know what it's like to have a pee alone. Okay. There's always somebody like that. Now I'm busy talking and Michael just comes in and says, you stop water. Somebody in the group's got a water issue, needs to look at water. What I've learned and what happens, it's like, I compare it a bit to like a radio station. It's always in the back. Okay. I trust Michael. I know his voice. The best way I can put it, I think me and Michael almost have a bit of an imprint. This thing is, I just trust him. He's been my constant guide since my earliest memory. So it's always there. I explain it a bit like a radio in the back. I know when Michael will push through a message like that I listen, I stop and listen. Not always my private life, but I try. So it's always there. So, but what it does is I've got very strong. I've got a very strong team around me. I work in a particular space and all that. So you learn to tune it down. You learn, like with radios, you learn to tune it down.
Yeah. Listen to what you need to listen to. So
yeah. But and listen, as a young girl, I had lots of fun with it. I used to be a top sales rep because I used to go into sales meetings and look at who's going to be.
You that you're going to close it.
Yeah, and I used to spend time looking at that, so yeah, we all learn it. And one of the big things I think with it is we're not supposed to really come in and stand our powers, especially spiritually, I think, until about our mid-30s, because I think it can be abusive. And this is also what's so devastating to me for the young generation who are coming in. They are coming in carrying a much higher soul seed than us, a much higher consciousness than us. This is why you're seeing this transgender neutral movement happening, because their souls are, our soul in itself is masculine and feminine. It's balanced in itself. We don't actually have a male half. It's all together. So what worries me here is also with these kiddies are coming in and they have, for us, we are not leaders in this romantic soulmate thing because we're looking for one thing and we're not seeing it as something else, and we're throwing it out, and then we're labeling it all kinds of things. And this generation behind us needs us to understand that love is seasonal, like a farmer. A farmer doesn't scream at the rain. He knows that's the season for rain. So that poem is seasonal reason. So it's really also to help our generation behind us find themselves, because there's a lack of love on the planet, because we're so deeply seeking for it somewhere out there, is we're forgetting to love ourselves. And we're not leading right here. We are telling people to stay in relationships because it's maybe ticks the boxes, or maybe because they do love you, even though they hit you or put you in a hospital. They do love you. They control you. They stalk you. It's love. Okay, it's a soulmate. Shame he cares. And I think that's why we're seeing so much abuse coming out, and so much coming out about people saying this has to stop.
And stereotypes. I think stereotypes that.
Yeah, huge. So going back to the poem. Sorry, so I want to go. The poem's quite important for the reframing. So I all my life, people always thought it was going to be me that would have the children and the white picket fence and all that. And I have struggled with it all my life because I just knew my soul. I didn't know at 5 that this was going to be my life. And this is not what I imagined for myself. So I only read that poem about 9 months ago at a very close friend's funeral or passing. I read it on a train, and it changed everything in my world. Is finally I had a marker for myself, is the labels, the stigma of it, the romantic love. Because I've always said to my sister, I don't ever want to pick up underpants. I've never understood the concept of marriage. Okay. And if you go back just a little bit here, there's a bit of a history lesson 101. The marriage as it stands, the vows as it stands today, is actually an offcut from Caesar. When Caesar was expanding Rome so much and sort of taxing the people so heavily to build these statues and the Roman Empire, he taxed Romans heavily, and Romans started to merge households to actually manage. To this day, we still get taxed differently as single people and as married people, okay? Marriage as it stands, the concept of marriage, the legal concept, is actually a Roman thing, okay? And the Roman thing was, let's merge households to save taxes. And marriage is all, it's still that today. It's let's bring our households together to save money and to create a merged lifestyle. Not to death do us part, okay? No, because then can you imagine all the partners you've married in past lives? Can you imagine what's out there, okay? And can you imagine what you said you're going to love in past lives? You know, you might have been a pirate on a ship and sort of fallen in love with some other pirate from another ship, okay? Now suddenly you meet each other in this life and it's just not appropriate, okay? But we get caught up in it because, you know, it must mean something because they tick the boxes. So that poem, If I Had 3 Lifetimes, I'd Marry You in 2. I loved it because it was finally giving me permission that there was something out there that wasn't the white picket fence, that I can have a relationship. When I say on my terms, I don't mean that is to be cocky or bitchy. I've made friends with myself. I've destigmatized myself. And if this is it, this is great. But it was finally something is, it's okay to not, romantic love has never made sense because it actually doesn't exist. To the angels, when we say romantic love, Michael will honestly flash in a reading a fairy tale to me, okay? Because when I say to them that they love, he's like, it's a fairy tale. The angels from a 5th place is love is hard work, love is pain, and love is work. You know, again, Carl Gibram, you know, Carl Gibram is one of my best, is, you know, he says then, tell me about love, and he says, tell me about joy, and he says, joy is love or work made visible. And when we see that marriages, partnerships are work, hard work, time in diaries, therapy, time for sex, all of that. But the big thing is time, space next to you, okay? When we realize that it's hard work and that love will grow if we have those basics in place, and that we don't necessarily have to go into the white picket fence and have it what it looks like. Maybe it is the person with 10 tattoos on their head. Maybe it is Shrek in your life. Maybe it is somebody that, you know, works, you know, maybe works with honeybees and that. I think that poem, what it did for me was allow me to be at peace and to accept that there are so many different types of partnerships and so many that will fulfill you in different places of your life, like a season. Okay, so read the poem. The other, so I've given you, I've just made a note here of also the books, a very good book. If somebody, it's a bit kitschy, okay, it's not Jeff, an Uncommon Bond by Jeff Brown. Is a really, if anybody's going away on holiday and you want to lie on the beach and have a real easy read, okay, Jeff Brown's book, An Uncommon Bond, really helped me when I was sort of figuring out this twin flame soulmate thing. It's a real good book to unpack it a bit more, okay? It's a love story. It's a little bit of a fairy tale, but it's very wide. Jeff Brown is, to me, one of the best. I really like, so if you don't follow him or don't know him, he's really a good author. And he really does do a lot of work of debunking the soulmate twin flame myth. Especially what also happened, he also debunks a lot of the black sheep myth of the karmic. These people are coming in to clear this karma. So these people, you know, like Lee, I'm going to pick on you, is saying I want to meet people even 30 years, you know, age difference to clear it. And I think that's a beautiful, that is also a great gift back to humanity.
Can I ask, do you have that poem that you could you read that poem to us?
Yes, perfect. Give me a seckie.
Yes.
Sorry. You've got this. I can also tell you, people, okay, is there's going to be a massive storm, okay, because Hannah has suddenly started going. Hannah has suddenly started. Hannah can pick up a storm about 5 hours later.
Monday, apparently.
Pardon?
Monday, there's a lot of rain coming to Cape Town, like a lot.
Okay, she's just in the last about 5 minutes started to act, and I want to say, well, there's big rain coming. Maybe I should also go into predicting the weather. Maybe I should go into politics. Okay, I'm going to read the poem, okay?
Yes.
If I had 3 lives, I'd marry you in 2. And the other? That life over there, at Starbucks, sitting alone, writing, maybe a memoir, maybe a novel, or this poem. No kids, probably. a small apartment with a view of the river and books, lots of books, and time to read. Friends to laugh with, a man sometimes for the weekend to remember what skin feels like when it's alive. I'm thinner in that life, vegan. I practice yoga. I go to art films, farmers markets, drink martinis in swinging skirts and big jewelry. I vacation on the Maine coast and wear a flannel shirt. Weekend guy left behind, loving the smell of sweat and aftershave more than I do him. I walk the beach at sunrise, find a perfect shell spiral and study pocket marks. And study pocket mark watermarks in the sand. I'm dyslexic, so it takes a bit, okay? And I wonder sometimes if I ever find you. Okay, I love that poem because it gives people permission to say, maybe I need that seasonal relationship. Maybe it's okay to miss skin. It's okay to want that, but doesn't have to mean is I have to tie into the system. Because the minute that's where that soulmate system also comes in, is just because it's a soulmate and that doesn't mean it's forever. So rather give yourself permission to love in the moment, like dogs love when they go for WALKs, okay? In that moment, that's all they live for. And when we are loving them like that, we love them in their moments. And how often with animals, I'm sure you all have animals. I just use animals a lot because it's an easy teaching, because we can all conceptualize it. Very few of us I've tried, but I've given up. Very few of us try to change our animals. We love them for who they are unconditionally. Even if they puke and they eat our best, we can be cross. We don't have to like them. And Saul, it's a very interesting thing. And maybe this will also help everybody. One of the big misconceptions from the angels, okay, is we don't have to love everybody. Oh, no, sorry, you don't have to like everybody. Love is very easy. It's a natural thing, okay? Love is, we are born from love. We are created from a heart space. But liking somebody. And Michael says if people started to really look at their value systems and really started to be with people they really liked, love would also come. So Michael also says it's really okay. And the angels, Michael, love, I don't think Michael's ever stopped loving me, but he's not often liked me, and he's not often liked the things I've done. And he turns around and says, sort yourself out. So I also think it's very good in this process of finding love and reconceptualizing it. It's also okay to say, and this is where that acceptance of it, I don't necessarily like certain aspects of myself. I want to change them because that's growth and that is showing you're open, but I always love myself. And that is so important, because when you meet somebody who can love themselves, even though there's parts of them that they don't like or accept, that is really the truth, the best cement for a relationship, because they will love you, they will see you in your bad times, and then seeing you in their bad times, they respect and like you. And my grand, funny enough, used to say it's more important to be liked than to be loved.
I suppose like that's, love doesn't equal perfection, and I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is that they put love in the same box as perfection. Like if I love somebody, they've got to be perfect. You can love parts of them.
Yeah, this is, I'm going to use quite a dramatic example, but it's the truth but Sam, honestly, some Instagram tarot reader, no disrespect to them, told me he's my soulmate, but he's literally now put me in hospital 3 times. Okay, it's that. What we do here is we do put it into a box. We do want to make it perfect because it ticks all the boxes, and it goes to what society says, because he's charming and beautiful. And please believe it happens to men too, okay? And what happens is we so constantly seek, is we actually go into abusive gaslighting relationships because we are so scared to go against that mark, to go against the label and say, well, maybe I am just going to wear the shirt.
Yeah, no, it's
okay. Listen, we've got there's a question here from Claire. Okay, is do we get one soulmate in life? Yeah, the bigger. From what I understand, we have, as we evolve and our souls grow and we learn lessons, our soul grouping becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and more almost like, when I say quality, okay, and I don't mean that we are not quality, but I don't think we're at the Dalai Lama's level just yet, okay? So what happens, Claire, is when you come down in a soul pod is the bigger everybody in that pod. If your soul contract is to have a dog, everybody in that pod will be a soulmate to you, but possibly just around dogs. So if you come down in a soul pod of 1 million people, you can have 1 million soulmates, but that's a bit rare. But everybody who has a dog, you can have a connection to. Okay, so your soulmate, but with you a little bit is, I think for you, Martin was more your twin flame. That's why when you lost him, the collapse happened, because the twin flame. If you think also another image of the twin flame is take 2 candles with take a candle with a kilogram of wax and put 2 wicks in it. If you light that candle, it's going to burn double quick to 2 separate candles with 2 wicks. So that's why if you take a candle, you merge it, is when the twin flame leaves, there's often just a puddle left, and you've got to sort of figure out, because there's so much blending in it, because those labels are there and that value system falls, is you don't actually know who you are, because you allow them to take over because of that restriction, or what society says we should do. And remember, there's big flags here at certain ages in our lives. You know, I feel for people around, I would say these days, 27 to about 32. And then definitely woman from the late 30s to I think early 40s. There's a lot of stigma still attached to, why aren't you married? Why don't you have children? Why aren't you doing that? So even though we're saying in 2023, there's still a lot of stigma. And funny enough, a lot of stigma on women who still choose to not have children. You know, if we can't even get that kind of thing about, is to, you know, that's where this becomes a minefield. Okay, so does that help with soulmates? So, and that also, to answer Claire's question, is that's why soulmates is, even if it's a soulmate, you can, and I really do wish that people meet it and they find their happily ever after, because I do believe in happily ever after, but it comes at a lot of hard work. Okay, is, you know, recently my friend and I, we went away somewhere, and we could really, the place was beautiful, but when you look at it, it's like 20 years of solid work. They haven't magically just got to that place. They've worked at it for 20 years. So when you go into it and knowing this is a marriage contract, and that it is a merging of 2 lives, and we're going to contract to each other for as long as that partnership needs to be, that allows a lot more healthy energy in a relationship naturally. Sorry, I'm burping. Okay, so does that help?
I think that does, hey?
Okay.
She said yes, it answered it nicely.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I'm going to just ask around the room, is there anybody that wants to ask any questions? Let me see how we're all doing. Oh, that's just been, it's been such a delight, Sammi.
So I hope, so what Michael really wanted to get through here is don't lose your intuition. Get to know, if you want, the best advice I can give you, if you want to have a healthy adult relationship, and an adult means, I don't mean it as an age thing, it's more as conscious, okay? Let's rather put it that, a happy, healthy, conscious relationship with a partner. The big thing is to not get caught up in this whirlwind of soulmates and twin flames. Is you are very lucky if you meet your twin flame, but see it as a massive catalyst in your life. And no, 90% of the time they're not meant to stay, because they're just not meant to. And that soulmates will come into your life for different seasons and different reasons. And if you can be in that moment and love them for whatever that moment is, whether it's a moment in Pick and Pay or a 15-year marriage, okay, is don't hold on to labels and restrictions because it's what you think you need. Find what you really need and find what fills your cup up. And when you find that, you will find a person that adds to your life. And that's what a real partnership is. They should add to that cup, not do anything else. That's why the space is so important.
Oh, I think that's just absolutely magnificent. So well done. And someone on the iPhone is just hands up. Claudia says, just beautifully said. I just think this was, like Claudia said, such an insightful evening, such a beautiful way of just sharing this concept of love that, you know, gets us all tangled up. So thank you.
You know what I think, if you go back, and what I would say is somewhere in the next couple of days is go really and sort of watch Love Actually, okay? Really, it's a beautiful, beautiful movie, and see the different love stories. It's such a, when you see it like that, and I don't know who doesn't love, like, it's one of my favorite movies, okay? It's such a happy movie, but it's all of it. And when you start seeing the different love stories in it, it's not just about him and her at the end, it's all of that. That movie is such a beautiful one of explaining what I'm trying to say here is we have so many different love stories in one day in our lives, okay? And don't ever lose your own sense of self for love, because that is where Michael says that goes totally. He says that is not angelic love. If you want to be with somebody who has 10 cups of coffee at 10 o'clock in the morning, that is your value system. That is, wait for that person and accept that person will come, but also accept it's okay if they don't. Because nobody's coming to save us, so we save ourselves.
Amen to that, absolutely. So, Simona, did you want to ask a question? You put your hand up earlier on. Unmute yourself.
That's always been my favorite movie, is Love Actually. Every Christmas I watch it. I make a special time just to watch that movie.
Awesome. It really is. It's for the concept in it, and you look at it, when you start to realize, and I do believe, is that they've taken so much power away from us in this romantic notion of stigmatizing it or making it this romantic love, because God, love, if you start looking and remember that this connection, this opening up to this love, okay, is what happens is we start to change the world in us, because sometimes you can just stand and just look at the sky and say, thank you, just for being alive. Because when we start seeing that and we take it away from that romantic label, I honestly think love is miracles. It's the sunrise. It's the moment where maybe you are having a sip of coffee, something just happens and you just go like that, and the universe responds so beautifully to when we walk with golden footsteps and walk with that vulnerability, and it can only bring in more life. So that movie is really good to see that love can be magnificent. It doesn't have to be romantic.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Daphne as well just said, thank you so much. Very useful and encouraging. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you. If there's any other, there's been so many gems that have come through you and Michael this evening. And if there's anything else that you just want to share as we end off the session tonight. Just before I see people are starting to leave, so I just wanted to catch them and say a huge thank you. This has been such a special evening for me, such a special evening to have you start my year, and maybe your year of a lot more public talks. People have loved, they've stayed on for the entirety. People have only left because of load shedding. That was the messages I was getting. So
thank you. And listen, I do sometimes go down a squirrel road and all that, but I think the big thing is reframe it. Look at that poem, reframe it. Go out and find your self-love first, and automatically the universe will respond to you. And do not let these labels allow you to go into abusive, diminishing relationships, because and partnerships, life. At the coffee shop, I play it in so many different ways, is don't allow your value system to go down just because there is these labels. Trust your gut.
I've absolutely loved this. I've got a talk called In Life to Love, just based on the fact that I was in an armed robbery. You've got to love yourself first. And I think that I just sent Elaine a message. I've had goosebumps for 90 minutes, because I guess if you felt it, or it, or you've just tried it once, it's an incredible experience. And you got to appreciate each moment of it, I guess, because it takes a lot of work and it's hard to come by. But
so I don't want to get too esoteric. It's not the platform, but the planet is, just maybe to think, and this is my plea, the planet has never been in such a state as it is at the moment. Okay, and I believe in source code. I believe in God. I talk to him. I have Michael. The planet needs as much love as we can here. And if we're so focused on sort of somebody else saving us and somebody else to rescue us, we're going to forget to leave golden footprints. There is love with watching someone, just in traffic, just watching two people just love each other or just talk to each other. So really is the planet more than, and maybe this is why I know I have to get out there. What we need here at the moment is love. And the first thing is be kind to yourselves, because only somebody, but the thing is, if you can love yourself, that means you can love somebody else. And
Sure.
as I said earlier, you don't have to accept yourself. There's some things that I don't like about myself and I'm still working. And there's some things I still don't forgive myself for in life, but I'm working on them. And it's that's what really is that self-love and that self-acceptance. Doesn't mean you can't change. This means I make peace with who I am.
And there's a book my dad, he used to read these self-help books when we were kids. There's a book by Leo Buscaglia called Love. And it's a very thin book, but it's a good read. It's just called Love. Leo Buscaglia.
I'll put it down in love. I'll get it, because it's a topic that fascinates me, and it's a topic that, you know, love is so holographical, but it really is. If we can start loving ourselves in that moment, in accepting, we'll change this world pretty quickly.
Sure. Thank you so much. It's been amazing.
Perfect. Lots of love, everybody, and look after yourselves. And remember is to go out there. And one of the big things I always say is, one of the big spiritual things is, Michael always says to me, is try to treat people how you would like to be treated. Remember that. That's a great, just even it's tough. Sometimes we do want to swear and sort of go into victim mode and soul mode and all that. It's a good piece of advice here.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. And one more thing.
Watch your water, everybody. People with water issues, please watch your water issues. Okay.
And Sammi, there are people that are wanting to get hold of you and have readings. I was asked, so I'm going to, if that's okay with you, with your permission, share your details. Just send me a WhatsApp again, just with your whatever you want to share, your website, your email, your phone number, whatever medium, so they can get hold of you. And I'd love to have you back in my kitchen again. I love eating with you and Michael. So a huge thank you. And before everybody goes, before you tune up, please, next month, we have an animal communicator, a lady from France, Leila Delamont, and in keeping and as talented as Sammi. So please join us again, 16th of March. So Sammi, thank you. I am so inspired by you.
Thank you, and thank you for this. Thank you for kicking my ass and getting me here. And as I say, thank you for all being part of my first sort of, I don't know what it is.
And many more.